The most dangerous thing you can do for a relationship is to win an argument. We are taught from childhood that the truth is a shield and that being right is the ultimate moral high ground, yet we often find ourselves standing alone on that peak, clutching our correctness while the person we love retreats into the mist. We have built a civilization that prizes the accuracy of the mind over the resonance of the heart, forgetting that a person convinced against their will is of the same opinion still. To be right is often a hollow victory. It is a cold, sharp stone that we use to build walls instead of bridges. If you have ever felt that stinging satisfaction of proving someone wrong, only to notice an hour later a heavy, silent distance growing between you, you have felt the cost of being right. Maybe you've noticed that your most intense conflicts, whether with a partner, a child, or a coworker, rarely end with both people feeling closer, even when the facts are settled. You probably think that if you could just explain your logic more clearly, or if they could just see the truth of the situation, everything would be fixed. But you are likely just tightening the knots of their resistance. By the end of this exploration, you will understand that existence itself is a delicate, vibrating balance between two primary forces, the shadow of anxiety and the light of kindness. In the next few minutes, you will see why the man-made rules of our society are failing us by leaning too heavily on fear, and why choosing to be kind, even when you are factually right, is the only way to create a change that lasts a lifetime. You will learn that the most profound transformations don't happen because of a logical debate, but because of a change of heart that can only occur when the guard is lowered and the soul is seen. To understand the friction in our daily lives, we have to look at the very fabric of existence. From the smallest atom to the vastest galaxy, life operates on a dual pulse, the drive to survive and the drive to connect. Survival is governed by anxiety, fear, and the avoidance of pain. It is the biological no that keeps us from walking off cliffs or trusting predators. Connection, however, is governed by love and kindness. It is the spiritual yes that allows us to build families, create art, and find meaning in the void. These are not just abstract concepts. They are the twin engines of every human interaction you will ever have. Our modern civilization, with all its laws, contracts, and social hierarchies, is essentially a grand experiment in managing these two forces. Most of our systems are built on the principle of anxiety. We follow the law because we fear the fine. We work the job because we fear the poverty. We follow the social script because we fear the exclusion. This creates a surface-level order, a politeness that looks like peace, but is actually just a ceasefire. When a relationship is built on this foundation of fear, whether it's the fear of an argument, the fear of disappointment, or the fear of being wrong, it becomes a brittle, temporary thing. It only lasts as long as the fear-inducing factor is present. Consider a relationship between a manager and an employee. If the manager leads through the sharp edge of being right and the underlying threat of consequences, the employee may indeed change their behavior. They will show up on time, they will meet the quotas, and they will speak the required words. But notice where that change comes from. It comes from without. It is an external pressure pushing against an internal resistance. The moment that manager leaves the room, or the moment the fear of the consequence fades, the behavior reverts. This is the tragedy of the right person. They achieve compliance, but they never achieve commitment. They win the battle, but they lose the soul of the work. Contrast this with a relationship rooted in kindness and love. When kindness is the primary operating principle, the change in behavior doesn't come from a fear of being wrong or a fear of pain. It comes from a change of heart. It is a movement from within. When you are kind to someone who has failed, you aren't ignoring the failure. You are prioritizing the person over the error. This act of grace creates a psychological safety that allows the other person to lower their defenses. In that space of safety, true growth can happen. The change isn't forced, it is grown. And because it is grown from the inside, it is deep, it is long-lasting, and it survives even when no one is watching. Imagine a couple sitting at a kitchen table, the air thick with the residue of a disagreement about money or parenting. One partner has the bank statements, the logic, and the undeniable facts on their side. They are right in every technical sense of the word. They could hammer their point home, they could demand an apology, and they could win. But in that moment, being right is a weapon. It creates anxiety and pain in the other person. If the partner chooses to be right, they might get a temporary concession, but they will also get a seed of resentment that will bloom into a wall of silence. What happens if that same person chooses to be kind instead? What if they put the papers aside and say, "I see how stressed you are, and I care more about us feeling like a team than I do about this specific number"? In that moment, they are choosing the principle of love over the principle of fear. They are recognizing that the wrongness of the partner is often just a symptom of their own hidden anxiety. By meeting that anxiety with kindness, they dissolve the need for the defense. The partner doesn't feel defeated, they feel seen. This is the only way a heart actually changes, not by being beaten into submission by facts, but by being invited into the warmth of understanding. We see this same pattern in how we raise our children. We are often terrified that if we don't correct every wrong behavior immediately with a consequence, our children will never learn. We lean on the principle of pain to teach morality. But a child who behaves only because they fear the time out or the lost privilege is only learning how to avoid getting caught. They are learning the rules of a fearful civilization, but they aren't learning the rhythm of a kind heart. When we choose kindness, when we stay calm in the face of their chaos, we are showing them that our love is more stable than their mistakes. We are planting a seed of internal morality that will guide them long after they have left our house. This choice between being right and being kind is the ultimate test of our character, because being right feels so good to the ego. The ego loves the "I told you so." It feeds on the validation of its own brilliance. But the ego is a solitary creature. It doesn't know how to bond. Every time we choose to be right at the expense of someone's dignity, we are feeding the ego and starving the relationship. We are choosing a temporary, superficial victory over a deep, permanent connection. Is it any wonder that our society is so full of people who are right about everything but have no one to share their life with? The noise of our modern world, the social media debates, the sensationalist news, the constant pressure to have the correct opinion, is designed to keep us in a state of high anxiety. It wants us to be right so that we can be angry at those who are wrong. It feeds on the principle of fear, but this is a trap. It keeps us in the shallow water of superficial conflict, preventing us from diving into the deep water of human kindness. We have to realize that the person on the other side of the screen or the other side of the fence is also navigating a life full of pain and fear. When we meet them with our rightness, we are just adding to their burden. When we meet them with kindness, we are offering them a way out. Existence is a pendulum, swinging between these two forces. There are times when the world feels dark, when fear and anxiety seem to be the only things that move the needle. But we must remember that the pendulum always returns. The relationships that have stood the test of time, the marriages that last 50 years, the friendships that survive every disagreement, the communities that weather every storm, are not those where everyone was always right. They are the ones where people chose, over and over again, to be kind. They chose the change from within over the pressure from without. As you move through your life, you will be presented with 1,000 opportunities to prove your point, to settle the score, and to stand in the spotlight of being correct. In those moments, pause. Ask yourself, do I want a temporary victory or a lasting bond? Do I want to change their behavior for an hour or change their heart for a lifetime? It is a difficult path because it requires us to swallow our pride and let go of our intellectual armor. But it is the only path that leads to a home. In the end, our lives are not measured by the arguments we won, but by the love we left behind. We are all just fragile beings, doing our best to survive in a universe that can feel cold and indifferent. The rules of civilization may try to keep us in line through fear, but we have the power to transcend those rules through kindness. Choose to be the person who values the soul over the statistic. Choose to be the one who listens when they could be lecturing. In every relationship, in every conflict, in every moment of choice. If you have to choose between being right and being kind, choose being kind. You will find that when the heart changes, the truth takes care of itself. Thank you for watching. Please comment, share with others, and subscribe for more.